Hello there, folks. I'm live here in my backyard, Montgomery County, Maryland. It's a real nice day here in the DC area. Nice weather. Moderate humidity, right about 70 degrees right now. High of, I think, like 78. And yeah, I got a lot of update videos back here because a lot of stuff's progressing really nicely. Some nice recovers, which I'll show you guys in just a second. Give you guys a sneak preview before I make some videos. I was today I was just down in DC and made a video on nice, really nice trachycarpus fortunei. It's really crazy looking, like futuristic community type place, which is really cool. And I will be I'll be uploading a video tonight of that really tall trachy. It's in a really great sheltered spot, one of the best microclimates in the entire DC area. And it's definitely a pre-2014 2014 survivor, and really nice tricarps fortunei, easily 20 feet, so really nice. Gems Day Tropics, great to see you in there. Thanks for joining in. Greetings from Boise. How's the weather in Boise? I bet it's warming up nicely. I know you guys sort of go straight into summer there. I know you guys got some heat, so hopefully it's nice where you are. DC, we also went like straight into summer with some really hot days in the 80s, even up to 90. But last week was really unseasonably cool in the 50s and 60s. This week's more normal temperatures, 70s mostly, 80s some days. Today's like a high of 78, moderate humidity, really nice. And yeah, just wanted to give you guys a little updates and go through here. Hey, Great Northern Exotic Garden. Hi from the UK. Where in the UK are you again? Really great to have you on here. And I know it's kind of late in the UK. But yeah, really awesome. There's some great palms in the UK. I've been following on Palm Talk. A lot of the UK palm growers have been posting about the palms there. Just, I mean, I say this like every live stream, but it blows my mind what you guys can grow up there. So far north of us, but I mean, such an amazing climate. You got the the current up there. I forget what it's called. Whatever current allows you guys to makes your climate so mild, and you're also just off the coast of mainland Europe, so you guys don't really get the same freezes that they get. Just an amazing climate. And we do get the bad freezes down here, and definitely quite a bit cooler than where you are, quite a bit colder in winter. But yeah, no, I mean, there's some cool stuff growing here. So, but I'm quite jealous of your climate. That's awesome. Hey, Nikau Cal, great to see you in here. Is that the same Cal that was on here previously? Great weather here today, 74, awesome. And you're in London, right? That's awesome. Assuming that is Cal from previously, that's awesome. 74 degrees, that's perfect. Really nice. So yeah, obviously you guys are a lot further north than us, so you guys warm up a lot slower. We've had, up to 90 already. But today high of 78. I think the average high in May here is like 76, 77, so pretty typical stuff. What time is it? 5:43 right now. This weather here today. It was very warm last week with this weekend. Cold and stormy, yeah. Sorry to hear that. We're gonna have some of that this week, and right now it's actually just like drizzling, but nothing too bad. Really nice out. Really nice out. Like 70, moderate humidity, so really nice. Feels great. 57 right now and wet. That's not too bad. Not too bad at all. That's awesome. Yeah, someone was just posting about the palms in Boise on someone posted a link that actually there were some pictures of some needle palms. Gem State Tropics. I don't know if you're on Palm Talk, but if you should go on there, and it's free to join, free to use. But if you look through I think on the cold hardy palms section, someone posted about the palms in Boise, and there were some cool pictures. There's one guy who grows big washy there. I don't know how he protects it, but I think he protects it pretty minorly. And also, someone was posting about the needle palms there, and they also posted that nursery that you have a video of with the sable minor and needle palms. So really cool. Amazing what grows there. Yeah. Yorkshire. Oh, got it. Gulfstream. Yes, Gulfstream. That's it. Of course. Thank you. We're definitely lucky. Yeah, very much so. And yeah, really mild up there. That's so cool. Well, Yorkshire's awesome, and I know there's some beautiful palms up there. That's awesome. Yes, Nikau Cal, great to have you on here. Speaking to cow palms, yeah, those do great in the south of England. It's 63 degrees, central London at the moment. Very nice. 10:50 p.m. Just sitting in the garden. That's awesome. Yeah, in London, people think London is just like rainy all year round, but really it's just the winters that are quite rainy. The rest of the year is pretty dry. And London, I know, averages far less inches of rainfall than we do here in DC. I think we average 38 inches of rain in DC, something like that. And yeah, London's like, what is it, like 18, 20 inches or something? Or 20, I don't know, it's something very low. So London's really quite a dry city when you go by inches. Now, obviously, it doesn't. We get like, intense storms sometimes brought on by hurricanes and tropical storms, that kind of stuff that London doesn't get. So we get like intense downfalls frequently. But London, I know the rain in winter is usually pretty light, but it does rain frequently in winter. But I mean, the temperatures obviously are pretty mild. Usually like upper 40s or 50s, and yeah, the rest of the year is just beautiful. It's awesome. And a bank holiday Monday tomorrow. Oh, that's awesome. Great weather. Yeah, sounds like it. That's awesome. That's really awesome. So hopefully you get to enjoy that. And great northern exotic garden. I know you have some palms in your garden, right? Which species are you growing currently? I'm curious, because I mean, it's amazing the variety. You can probably grow dozens of palm species in Yorkshire, and definitely in like the far south, like Cornwall, that area. This is my Trachycarpus fortunae here, but things got tons of holly leaves on here. Oh god, it's like really dirty. But yeah, I gotta clean this stuff off, but it's looking good. It's putting on a lot of growth. This frond just opened up, and really, really nice. You can see just pretty moderate damage, pretty minor damage, honestly, on the majority of fronds. Some have no damage, but lots of dirt and stuff on here. So yeah, really, really cool. This palm's doing great. Got to get some new soil around the base. You can see that root ball starting to become more exposed. I got to fix that, but otherwise doing well. And yeah, I got two exciting updates here. Well, amongst others, but you see this needle palm, which for whatever reason spear pulled. I've had bad luck with the pungo palms, needle palms, which I bought in the past. I think it might just be that I didn't fertilize them, or I mean, protection here isn't really an issue. And you can see the fronds are still this brilliant green, no damage at all. But for some reason, it spear pulled. No actual frond damage, but it's spear pulled. And check this out. I'm going to try to show this to you guys. I got to break off the stick here, but if you look in here, let me try to show that there, right there. See that? There, right there. That thing right in the middle that the stick's pointing at, that is a new spear emerging. So these things are so slow growing that I thought it was almost too late for it to recover. I didn't want to cut through that trunk because it's such a small trunk anyways. And I mean, I would have had to cut off all those fronds, but thankfully the palm is recovering on its own. And don't stick your fingers in there. That's why I use a stick, is because even at a small age like this, those needles are really sharp and they can really hurt. It's like a pin. Those are not fun, but just a beautiful palm, and really excited to see how this one does. And yeah, awesome that it's recovering. This is just a very impressive palm. This is the Sabletonia. This is really just fascinating that it can grow here. And I think we're obviously mild enough, and they love our hot, humid summers. So really, really cool. This is a very rare palm, pretty rare palm, at least in cultivation, from Florida. And despite being native to Florida, that's great here. And Florida can get some pretty bad freezes, especially in the northern part. Get down pretty cold, to the teens, and even colder sometimes in the northern part of the state. So yeah, really, really impressive. And so, I mean, obviously these palms are built to handle some degree of freeze, which is awesome. Sable minor, this thing I transplanted twice. That's why these fronds are cooked. It's not from cold, but it's just from, I don't know what it's from. I mean, it's probably from like the roots, which you can see are just kind of like half exposed there, but I wasn't holding out much hope for this one, but you can see it's pushing out a new frond there. Sable minor seedlings, of course, are flawless. Trachy seedlings, you can see some minor damage, but these things are recovering nicely. I gotta like weed this all out. There's so many weeds in here, but some trash too. Oh God, I don't know what that is, but you can see all these. These are all my Trachy seedlings recovering nicely. This Sable Birmingham, unfortunately, I separated it, and before I planted it, this one's toast. It's still firm, but I'm pretty sure that is toast. But then you see over here, this one, still greens. This one should recover nicely, which is awesome. That's the Sable Brazoria. Sorry, yeah, Sable Brazoria. And both of these Trachycarpus fortunae are recovering nicely. This is the fortunae, and then this one's a Trachycarpus wagnerianus. These were, barely protected, and survived our winter low of around 6 to 7 degrees Fahrenheit. Take heel didn't make it, unfortunately. I had to remove that, but that was, I think, one loss. Is that right? Yeah, I think it was the one loss. This thing miraculously is recovering. Some people were suggesting it's a date palm. I'm pretty sure this is a Camerops, because I don't think a date palm would have any chance of surviving the winter we just had, even though generally it was pretty mild. It was wet and we did get down to, you know, as I mentioned, 6 or 7 degrees. So not good for a date palm, but I think this is a Camerops. You can see that seedling there somehow survived that freeze. So that's really impressive, and it's growing back nicely. What's also impressive, and I know a guy who actually is growing big ones out by the Chesapeake Bay in Maryland, and his survived just fine. These palmetto seedlings, which are growing back nicely, sable palmetto. I grew these from Virginia Beach. You can see them all recovering here, and really, really nice. Awesome to see that. So sable palmetto seedlings survived unprotected, and yeah, really, really awesome. So this is going to be an interesting season. I'm going to try to really expand my plantings and stuff, try to especially expand my cacti and stuff, which I'm going to do an update on those soon. I've got lots of updates to do, as I mentioned. But I got my 3 new trachys here, which is awesome. Really excited about that. And these ones, I'm thinking I'm going to save probably 1 to be planted in the garden since I have limited room. The other 2, and then I got some small ones to plant as well. These are trachys, needle, and then these ones are sable minor. And then these are my potted palms as well. I just brought my coconut out last night because I think we might have had our last night in the 40s last night. So, you know, now all in the 50s, all the lows, and then most days are in the 70s, 80s. So good coconut weather, and yeah, but lots to plant. And the rest of those that are not planting this season, I'm going to be planting. I'm trying to do some public plantings. You know, go around to like the library and some local public places to plant some palms. So keep you guys posted on all that. But yes, sorry. Let me get your guys' comments. Do you grow any cannas, or is it too cold there? Nicao Cal, I honestly, I think there are people growing them. I do not grow any. I'm not as knowledgeable about that, but that's a really good question. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like there are people growing them here, I think, but I do not grow any personally. Trichorbs fortunei, Camerops humilis, and I bush Washington robusta, which I'll take by my chances with protecting winter. Trachea and Camerops pretty bulletproof. That's awesome. That's really awesome. And yeah, I mean, it's amazing just what you guys can grow up there. Really, really amazing. Trichorbs fortunei is, you know, decently hardy here. Camerops humilis, very marginal. I lost mine its first winter here, and Washingtonia stands no chance here. So I'm very jealous of you guys, but, you know, we're doing what we can here. And the nice thing is that we're able to grow some sables, and the other good thing is that things grow fast here. You know, trachys, and especially the warm climate, you know, the palms from really hot summer climates. Trachys are from cooler summer climates. They tolerate our humidity, and they actually seem to enjoy it and grow pretty fast. But the ones that really are native to places like that are the sables and the needle palm, which they grow faster here, which is nice. But yeah, that's the one advantage I'd say of our climate. You know, not necessarily over the UK's climate. I don't know if we have any advantages over the UK's climate, but the advantages over cooler summer climates is that we are able to grow stuff like sables. Like even sable palmetto is marginal here. I know it'll suffer in a place like the Pacific Northwest, even though it's milder, because it needs that summer heat. But yeah, so that's the one cool thing. That's really awesome though that you can grow that stuff up there, and I love it. Yes, so many people in the UK seem to be. Especially recently, seem to have gotten the message about just how mild their climate is, because it's really, you know, kind of annoying that you know, the stereotype about, you know, just this cold and rainy all year round, really not true. You know, a lot of the UK is actually pretty dry. I mean, a lot of it's unforested. You know, the area down by Cornwall, I think, is a Mediterranean climate. The Isles of Scilly are like zone 10, so super mild areas, super mild. Tracking Camerops. Hi from Harford County. My needle palm had spear pole this year after its second winter on the ground. Francis Litchfield, thanks for joining in. Great to have a Maryland palm grower here, and I'm sorry to hear about that, but yeah, you know, it's interesting. I think they're just much more sensitive. Is yours a needle palm small? Because they're just much more sensitive at a young age. That's what I've always heard. But then again, I see people planting small ones in places like Cincinnati, you know, Indiana, and those other places that are a lot colder than here, and they seem to survive okay. So I think needle palms is very variable. You know, if you get a needle palm from Florida, it's gonna be a lot less hardy than one from South Carolina or Georgia or Alabama or places further north. But yeah, I mean, they are also just much more sensitive when young. You know, it happens, but thankfully they seem to have a pretty good tendency to recover from spear pole, and they are just insanely tough. But I don't know. I feel like, you know, some forms of sable mine are definitely maybe hardier than needle palm, but that's a debate a lot of people have had. It looks like some residents plant needle palms and sable minor here with no protection. That's awesome. Yeah, Gem State Tropics. Someone was posting about one. I think it was in a yard, or it was near some nursery. There was the ones that you shared that made a video on, but there was also another one that people posted pictures of some nice needle palms in the Boise area. So they can definitely survive without protection where you are. And even though the climate's obviously very different from where they're native, it sort of mirrors it in that you guys do have very hot summers. Even if it's less humid, they seem to tolerate it fine as long as they're watered, because the heat, they enjoy the heat. So that's awesome. Yeah. Yorkshire had a good amount of rolling hills. I was looking on Wonderground the other day, and at the area, some weather station Valley recorded -8 Celsius. Wow, wow, wow. So that just shows you, it's kind of like London, although London obviously has the urban heat island effect, but it really can vary a lot. And yeah, I know obviously a lot of the UK is just rolling hills and mountains as well. And obviously that can create some crazy microclimates, yeah. It's starting to rain a little bit here. Get under the tree. My Spanish moss here is doing well, as you can see. Some of it's a bit dried out, but hopefully it'll enjoy the humidity once it really kicks in. If you're on a hill, Washington might work in a good market climate. Definitely, definitely. Yeah, it seems like that definitely might be an advantage. And depending on the size of the hill, if you've obviously a huge hill, being in the middle of the hill often helps. If it's a small hill, often being on the top of the hill can help, because cold air will actually sink down into the valleys, making it colder in those nights, during the coldest nights. And obviously, if it's a huge hill, being at the bottom can be an advantage sometimes. But usually being higher up in the hill, or in the medium part of the hill, has some advantages weather-wise. Plant needle palms. Yeah, Isles of Scilly rarely see any frost. Yeah, crazy how mild it is there. It is really, really mild. That's one place I really, really want to go. The Isles of Scilly. If I'm ever in the UK, I really, really hope to go there. Really crazy. It looks like something out of the Mediterranean or something, but it's just amazing. And it's like 50 degrees north or something, so far north of here. Crazy. Really, really crazy. How Sale Palmetto is growing fine at the moment. That's awesome, Cal. That's awesome, Cal. I always wondered how they do in the UK, because I almost never hear of them there, because they're just really rare. But yeah, I mean, I would think they would do okay, because even though you guys get a lot less summer heat, you still get more summer heat than, especially like in inland places, you still get more summer heat than like, Vancouver or something, or Seattle. And I mean, yeah, it's so mild there. I would think they'd do well. Low in the Isles of Scilly this winter was 37.9. That's crazy. That's like Southern California. Usually, like I remember at least last winter, and probably this winter too, it definitely got into the 30s a few nights in LA. So that's really, really crazy. That is so mild. Yeah. It's like a very low zone 10, but it still is obviously a zone 10. Because I know that that's the problem. The biggest problem with Isles of Scilly, like if they got more summer heat, they'd probably be able to grow, maybe even royals and stuff, at least marginally. But obviously the biggest problem is that it's just so cool year round. It's like in the 60s in summer. But that said, I mean, you can still, I know there's a few king palms there. Nicao palms are everywhere. Hawea, I think there's some, obviously Phoenix canarensis and all the classic ones. So it is actually just, really, really nice and mild, which is awesome. Yeah, really, really awesome. It's 10B, but a very cool one. Yeah, exactly. It's like Brookings, Oregon. I think Brookings is like 10A, maybe 10B. Yeah, it's very, very, very similar climate. Because I know there's been a big king palm and several big queen palms in Brookings. So very similar climate. I wonder if Brookings is milder on average. Because I feel like if Brookings is the same zone, I would think Brookings maybe is milder on average, but gets worse freezes. Because obviously Brookings is the disadvantage. The advantage is that it gets more heat, I think. Although I might be wrong. But the disadvantage is that it's on the mainland. So, those freezes can come right down from the Pacific Northwest. Although it doesn't seem like they get very bad freezes. I mean, they're pretty similar, from what I'm aware. Sorry, it's a hose here. Let me move this. Got to keep it out of the way of the seedlings here. Got a few in here. Really, really nice. So, yeah. Can take the hose out finally that it's, oh gosh, sorry. Nicao Cal, I accidentally deleted one of your messages. Sorry about that. That was an accident. What did I just do? Gosh, I think it's, sorry. The water's coming on my phone, and it's, gosh, Nick. Oh gosh, my phone's like malfunctioning here. Might be the rain. Sorry, I'm gonna get in the corner. Cal, I'm so sorry. Gosh. How do I undo this? I'm gonna add you as a moderator. Sorry, I'll add you as a moderator here. Cal, I'm so sorry. God, Jesus, I don't know what's going on here. My settings are, literally, I think the rain is building up on my screen such that it was like clicking this for me. I'm so sorry. 300 seconds. Gosh, what's going on here? Cal, I'm sorry. How do I undo this? God, okay, sorry, Cal. Let me continue with this. Trade cards for tonight. Camera I've seen all this. I just bought. Planned it out. Gosh. Summers are warming here for sure. We hit 40 Celsius for the first time. I heard about that. Yeah, that's really nuts. I know it got to like 105 degrees Fahrenheit in London, and I know most people do not have AC there, air conditioning, because it's so mild there generally in summer. But that's really quite miserable. And yeah, that is not fun. No, that really sucks. But yeah, I mean, we didn't even hit that hot last summer, and we were obviously a lot hotter than you guys in summer. I think we hit like 99, maybe 100 in summer. We usually don't get to 100, despite the fact that our average high here is like 90 degrees in summer. We rarely get to 100 because we're just, I don't know, the humidity seems to moderate it a little bit strangely, and sort of keep the temperatures relatively stable in summer. It's very hot, very, very hot, but never really gets, to like 100 something. Yes, my needle palm is small, about 1 foot tall, and in full sun all day. I'll be watching it for it to recover. I use peroxide. Then yeah, I was changing the size. I was lucky enough to find a Joshua tree and an agave for sale. That's awesome. That is so cool. See, that's the thing, is that you guys probably get a bit colder. I mean, you guys probably get considerably colder than us here in the DC area, just with regards to temperature. But like Albuquerque, like being in a dry climate, even though you can get colder than us, you can just grow so much more because it's dry. There's a huge difference between a wet, rainy winters and dry winters. And I'm just so jealous. The fact that you can grow Joshua trees and stuff like that, just awesome. Which agave? Perii. Oh, agave Perii. That's the one that does great here. That is one that really does well here. I've seen some big ones here at the Botanic Gardens. And how do you I'm going to ask you, do you guys know how to unblock someone? I timed Nikau Cal out by accident. I didn't even do that. The rain is like building up on my screen. I have to wipe it off. Gosh. Cal, I'm so sorry. I got to send Cal some palm seeds. Cal, let me know, and I will send you some sable minor seeds your way. My needle is small, about 1 foot. Which agave? Perii. The problem here is our homes are designed to keep heat in, and we, like you say, no AC. Yeah, and our infrastructure isn't prepared for it. We have motorways melting and yeah, I heard about that. That's crazy. I heard there was this building in London apparently that like reflects the sunlight. It's like a glass building, a skyscraper, and it reflects the sunlight such that the like pavement on the street below was like melting or something. It's like incredibly hot, which is yeah, not fun. Not that's crazy. Yeah, that's the problem, is that you get those crazy heat waves. Yeah, it's not prepared for it. It's really crazy. I mean, you should go to Phoenix sometime. I was there in like late fall, I think, and it was like still in the 90s. Phoenix already is like frequently in the hundreds this time of year, and the average high there I think is 108 degrees in summer, and it's miserably hot. And not, when you talk about urban heat island effect, usually that's seen as a positive for palm growers, but that is not at all a positive in Phoenix. I mean, sure, it may help in winter, but an urban heat island when it's already 115 degrees out, which it frequently gets to. I mean, they'll have entire weeks like where it's like 110 plus each day. The thing is, the nights there are tolerable because again, 115, miserable as it is, does not feel the same as 115 and humid, or 100 and humid. 100 humid versus 100 and dry is a huge difference. Like it can be 95 degrees out in Arizona or in the Southwest, and as long as you're in the shade, it feels completely fine. Feels like 80 degrees here or something. But once it gets to like 100, I was there, it was 106 degrees, and honestly it was not as bad as I imagined, but I was there for like just driving through to the airport. I can imagine enduring that all summer sounds pretty miserable. The nights though, it cools off so much at night, so that's the one advantage. But no, that's kind of miserable, kind of like the opposite of London. It's just hot there like all so often. But I honestly prefer cooler climates like London or Southern California along the coast. I'd rather have cooler summers than hotter summers, but for palms, I'd obviously rather be in a place where I could grow more, but a place like Southern California or Mediterranean climate, it's kind of my favorite climate, and just in terms of the weather, it's really very, very love. Florida, I obviously love Florida, and I love Miami, and the advantage is that you can grow so much stuff there. But, I went there in March when it was still winter, and I got horrible sunburn. It was miserably humid. So that's the problem. It's like a huge swamp. And especially when you go inland. And when you go inland, it's miserably humid. By the coast, it's more bearable because it can be windy, and you got the beach. But in winter, it feels great. Yeah, gosh, where's Cal? We got to get Cal back in here. And Joshua Tree. The problem here is, sorry, prepared for it. We have apiaria that's great, can be planted out in the UK with overhead protection. That's awesome. Yeah, I bet you could grow it with no protection in the UK because it grows fine here in winter with no protection. So yeah, it does great here. Hey, Christopher, great to see you on here. I also went last June by the coast. It was so hot. Gosh, yes. Wait, where by the coast, Christopher? In the UK? Yeah, I know. It's you must be talking about Florida. Yeah, no, I've been there, and again, I've only been there. I've never been there in summer. I've been there in the middle of winter and in March. And middle of winter feels perfect. Obviously it's like 80 something and humid, but it's lower humidity. Feels perfect. But yeah, once you even get into like late winter there, it really gets bad. And then summer there, I cannot even imagine. I mean, our summers here are, I wouldn't call them miserable, but they're quite hot a lot of days. Like if you go for a hike or especially a run, that is, you're going to be feeling that. It gets really hot and humid here. And last summer I did yard work all summer in the neighborhood, just around for different people, and that was not fun. There was a whole week where it was in the 90s and humid, and it was just miserable. I'd rather it be like 105 and dry than 90 degrees and humid. It was miserable. But obviously I can't complain about our climate because it could always be colder, and having seasonal variation is cool. I like the fact that our hot summers means we get a lot of growth out of stuff, and the fact we're at a low latitude, it sucks that we're at such a low latitude and still can grow so little, but it's also great that we're at such a low latitude and our weather does stay warm for a lot of the year. I mean, like, you can be outside, I'd say probably like a good 10 months of the year, it'll be pretty nice and you can go outside just with a fleece or up to a t-shirt. And then, the couple months in winter where it's, I mean, this winter was basically nothing. It was mostly in like the 50s and stuff in winter. It was really nice. But, obviously there'll be like, maybe a month or two in winter where you got to put on a winter coat, but it's not too bad, to be honest. It's really just those bad freezes that really limit what we can grow here. We could probably grow sable minor, pretty well here if it wasn't for those bad freezes. I know some people that do grow them in the areas, and in those in-between periods between the bad freezes, they really grow just fine. There's, again, the guy out by North Beach, Maryland, which is still in the DC area. He has 3 sable palmetto, or he has several sable palmetto, I think, and he's had them for 3 years in the ground. No protection, and they've done just fine. Survived the Arctic blast just fine, and he's importing more of them now. He's like trucks them up from somewhere in the south, and he's planting them out, which is awesome. But Yeah, check this out. So we got my Apuncha humifusa. This is our native prickly pear cactus. This is another cool thing about here. And Cal, I'm so sorry, by the way. Don't worry, I accidentally timed me out. I accidentally did the same thing. Chose live stream for the... Got water on my phone. Okay, I'm glad you can relate to that. I'm so sorry. Cal, by the way, you have any at your request any palm seeds coming your way. We got Sable Minor and maybe Trichoros fortunae, some Sable Birmingham possibly. If you want any palm seeds, just let me know. And as soon as they are in seed, I will send some your way. Absolutely. I'm so sorry about that. And yeah, no, it really sucks. That's one problem is I don't really know what it is. Like I didn't have that much water, but it really does sort of jam it up. Accidentally did the same thing. Yeah. So sorry about that. Anyways, great to have you back, Cal. And yeah, awesome to have you here. And yeah, really awesome that it's nice and mild, nice and warm in London right now. It's awesome. That is just one of the places I really want to go back. You know, I obviously my dream place to live is probably somewhere like Southern California, or you know, I could say the Canary Islands or somewhere you know, obviously luxurious and very warm. But if I had to live somewhere, you know, slightly cooler to grow palms, I think London's one of my top places. Either London or the south coast of the UK. I don't know where I'd rather live, because London's got the urban heat island effect, which is awesome. The south coast, obviously, just generally milder. I don't think I'd want to live on the Scilly Isles because obviously they're, you know, pretty isolated. I want to live, you know, place where you could drive places. But I mean, just the fact that you guys have such, it always blows my mind. And the more I see, just the more pictures people share, amazing just how mild it is there. Really, really crazy. I mean, you would not believe how far south in the U.S. you can drive and still see palms like Washingtonia and Phoenix canariensis get damaged. I mean, I think even in Tallahassee, Florida, there were, during the really bad freeze, they had washies that got damaged. I mean, and obviously, you know, right now they have like, you know, 20-foot Bismarckias there and huge Majesty palms, and it's an incredibly mild climate, but it's away from the coast. It's inland. It's probably at a little bit of an elevation, maybe a little bit, I don't know. But the fact that you can go like really close to the Gulf Coast and still have Washingtonia damaged, and yet you guys can grow them, you know, bulletproof in a lot of, you know, parts of the southern England at least. It's just really, really nuts. I mean, it's crazy, absolutely crazy. So let me get to, so anyways, yeah, I just wanted to share the little update on prickly pear. This is our native prickly pear cactus. That's the other cool thing is that cacti, which I do love, I really do love cacti, are native to 45 of the 50 U.S. states. So, you know, the vast majority of the U.S., you'll find wild cacti. This is our native species here, native to Maryland, I think it's the widest distribution of any native cactus in the U.S., native to a lot of states, goes as far west, I think, as New Mexico, all the way up from Ontario to southern Florida. So from the tropics all the way up to, you know, really, really cold climate. So it's very hardy, and it's native right here in Maryland. And this is the eastern prickly pear, Apuncha humifusa, and you can see all the new pads coming out there. It's going to have a lot of growth this year. This is the Apuncha planes keep falling off because they keep getting knocked around, but this thing is putting out some new growth. This is the Apuncha, a really cool species. It's a really tiny little one, Apuncha fragilis, brittle prickly pear. Really, really cool one, native to the western U.S., but it's also native to some areas of the Midwest. And this thing's putting out some new growth. This is the Apuncha elysiana, I believe. And then this cholla really sucks. It was just completely rotted. They are fully hardy here, and they don't mind our wet winters, really. But sadly, it... Hi, good to see you. Good, thanks. Sadly, you know, the cholla is kind of... I don't know. That one was already suffering when I got it. I got it from Pungo Palms in Virginia Beach. And Pungo Palms is like... It's like just inland enough that it's much more humid than by the coast. So I bought it like end of summer, and it had been through like a whole summer of crazy humidity. I think it was just suffering. The soil was probably too dense. It was not in well-draining soil. They do need well-draining soil, or prefer it at least. But I bought it. It was already kind of rotting. And two of the stems actually fell off inadvertently, and they actually were looking great even by the end of winter. But they were just removed. I don't know what happened to them. But that cholla suffered. I'm going to get a new one and plant some new cholla this year. But the rest are doing well, so that's an update on that. And yeah, I really, that's one of the things I hope to do this, amongst others, is expand my cactus garden, because that's one thing that I really love is just the amount of cacti that grow in our climate, and really in like any climate. I mean, Sandor up in Ontario is growing so many cacti up there, and they have native cacti as well, several species. So yeah, we can grow probably dozens of species of cacti here, including plenty of desert species. So yeah, really, really cool. Central London, last 10 years, most shops, restaurants, etc. built have AC. That's good. That's good, Cal. Yeah. I mean, I feel like AC is probably going to become important as the heat waves, increase. Yeah. I mean, you guys, what's the hottest it usually gets in summer in London? I mean, I would assume I think the average is like in the 70s, right? But I would think you get some days in like the 80s and stuff. But I would assume it usually doesn't go much above like 90 degrees. Whereas here we have like, 90 degrees is the average high and it's humid. But yeah, I mean, the fact that it got to 105 degrees there, that is nuts. That is crazy. I mean, it's miserable and humid too. I mean, it's crazy. But yeah. Anna Maria, Florida. Got it. Yeah. It must be really, I mean, in June, that must be really, really humid. Agave, Godifolia, Montana, Perryi, excellent Americana. That's awesome. Americana is pretty marginal here. The ones that I saw that were out by the Botanic Garden looked really completely mush because of our freeze. But there were some others, including one from Mexico that I've never even heard of, that survived the freeze just fine. So there's some nice ones growing at the Botanic Gardens. Again, I bet you there's probably at least a dozen species of agave that can grow here, if not much more. But just not a lot of them have been tried here, which is a shame. But there are people growing them, which is really nice. Are there any palms in town? Yeah, there are actually. So I made a video on some recently. There's, I think, 3 houses in my jurisdiction, which is just like a suburb of DC, that I've seen that have palms. There's definitely others. There's actually an article in the local magazine about a guy that grew palms, and sadly he had trackies, and they all, I think, were killed in the 2014 freeze. So that really sucks. But there's several people that I know of now that I'm thinking about it. There's even a guy who has a needle palm that was planted in the 60s in DC, and like 20 years ago, there's a Washington Post article on him. Actually, if you look up like DC palm growers, Washington Post, there's 2 articles on him. He has a needle palm. He's most famous because he had a 30-foot washi that was protected every winter, and then one winter it just got too big to protect, and he had to let it die, which really sucks. But he also lost 4 of his trackies because in 2014, the one winter, 2014, his friend told him trackies are fully hardy here. You don't ever have to protect them here. That winter was 2014. He didn't protect them. They were all over the roof of his house, all killed in that freeze. Really, really sucks. But he thankfully has 2 needle palms, one of which was planted in the 60s in DC. It's now at his house. It's like, almost 60 years old. And he transplanted it there because they had to move it because of they were doing some pipe work under the street and they had to move the palm. And he has it now, and it's the one needle palm I've ever seen in DC that can rival the one at the Arboretum for size. It is massive. I made one video on his place before. I really need to get back there. He's a very friendly guy, and he was a member of the local Palm Society, the Virginia Palm Society. And he's really nice. He has an amazing greenhouse in the back, very, very friendly. So I really need to get back there. There's several homes that have them, but sadly none of the public spots in any of the towns really around here. DC is the only place that has palms planted in public. I've never seen any of the Maryland suburbs. I don't think in Northern Virginia either plant palms. Actually, sorry, that's not true. There's one library in Northern Virginia that I have a video of, Cascades Library in Sterling, Virginia, that was actually the Virginia Palm Society planted palms there at the library. So that's the one place, but nowhere in town do they have palms planted publicly. So I'm hoping to change that maybe even this week. I'm going to go to the fire station. 1 block over, there's a fire station. There's several libraries nearby. I'm going to go there, ask them if I can plant palms, and I'm obviously going to care for them and everything. And I'm trying to change that. So I know a lot of people that have done this, and nice contribution. Plant some palms in your local town, and try to get the palmy spirit out there. And I might try to do a palm landscaping business this summer. So if you guys are in the DC area or know of anyone in the DC area, stay tuned, because I may be doing some palm landscaping this summer, planting palms out. So I'm trying to spread the palmy message around, and raise awareness about this, the palmy cause, because even in these cold climates, DC is a cold climate. There are growable palms without protection. People just don't know it. So, yeah. Anyway, sorry, I got a lot of comments to get to. I'll get to these guys. The thing is, though, is that you want to have a house in central London. Yeah, exactly. Cal, I've heard that it's incredibly expensive. Yeah, I think it's more expensive than anywhere in the U.S. In fact, than any city. Not a lot of money, and there's a massive temperature difference. Yeah, I know. It's like a crazy temperature difference between like Heathrow and central London. So that is the problem. Is it costs a ton. Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's a high, it's obviously in high demand. Everyone wants to live in London. So yeah, that is a problem. So I think if I lived in the UK, maybe I would live in Cornwall or something. But there's a lot of cool places, and I forget who it was. I think it was UK Palms, but got some pictures of some palms out by the eastern coast of England. I think Somerset or somewhere out there, and some really really nice palms there as well. Massive CIDP and washies and all the good stuff. So there's a lot of mild areas of the UK. It's not just Cornwall and London. I mean, there's CIDP up in Scotland, I think, and some washies. And I also found this place that has a huge Jubea out in Ireland, up in like Northern Ireland, like not in the jurisdiction of Northern Ireland, but the northern part of the country of Ireland. Huge Jubea, like 60, 70 feet, massive Jubea, but the crown looked really small, and I think it might have actually died. But this is one place that they have any cow palm, and it's some like exotic garden in the north of the UK, in the north of Ireland, that I found a video of. So, or yeah, some article or something. I can't remember, anyways. But yeah. There's a massive central London. I planted my Ohumafusa. That's awesome. Yes, that's awesome. I love hearing about people growing the our native cacti out in the UK. That's awesome. Such a great species. I love a Puncha humifusa so much. And as I mentioned, it's so variable because it's so hardy and drought tolerant, and tolerant of extreme rains, because it's native, again, from southern Florida, which is tropical, all the way up to Ontario, up to Massachusetts on the East Coast, and west to the Great Plains. So a very, very, very hardy and just tolerant of different conditions cactus. Just a great species. That's awesome. And it grows really fast, which is great. A good microclimate in the UK is Ventnor. Ventnor, yes. I've seen a picture of the Botanic Garden there. Crazy, big washies and everything. It's on an island, but it's Yeah, exactly. That is really cool. And I remember seeing a picture, but I think it's really close to the coast, right? But it's still on an island, which is obviously an advantage. I wonder about Manhattan, by the way. This is sort of separate topic, but same idea. Because Manhattan's an island, even though it's surrounded by mainland. Manhattan is an island. Must have an insane urban heat island effect, probably one of the biggest in the world. I mean, Manhattan is like all skyscrapers. So I got to imagine trackies would be growable and a good microclimate there, but I honestly would love to see the data on that, because there's more skyscrapers in New York than in Manhattan than even in London. But obviously it's on an island and everything. And also Long Island. Long Island, I think, is the northernmost place on the East Coast. Maybe Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket, but Long Island especially. I think when you go far enough out in Long Island, it's just mild enough that you can grow trackies. Because I know there are people growing them out there. But yeah, that's crazy. Ventnor's so mild. I bet you could grow king palms there. And queens and stuff, no problem. Zone 10A, that's crazy. How's the fruit in the humifusa? I think it is edible. Great Northern Exotic Garden, but it is really small, and it's also got spines on it. So you either want to boil the spines off or you want to cut them off. You can eat them raw or boiled, and I think they're really good tasting. I've never actually had them, but most prickly pear fruit tastes good, but they are quite small compared to like, the commercially produced Apuntia ficus indica, which is the most common one that they grow from Mexico. That the fruits on those are much bigger because the pads are as well. But I mean, I think they're all edible. Yeah, I know people actually make like juice and stuff from the Apuntia humifusa fruit, so it is definitely edible. But just be careful for those tiny little spines, the glochids. So those things are not fun. Very popular here, fully hardy. That's awesome, Gem State Tropics. Yes, no doubt. And also Idaho has quite a few native species of cacti, which is awesome. Yeah, really, really cool. Planted in NJ looks good though. Through the first winter. Oh, that's awesome, Christopher. That is awesome. Yeah. Are you talking about the Tricarpus? That's awesome. Your trachea survived. That's awesome. Yeah, New Jersey's got some great palms, and I am going back up there this summer. I go there every summer because I have family there, lots of family. And the last 3 visits I've been there, I found a new palm. I found, actually interestingly, I found a needle palm, I found a sable minor, and I found trachees. So I found all 3 up by the Jersey Shore. And I where I go, it's like North Shore. It's up, like an hour from New York. So it's like northern New Jersey or north central New Jersey. And yeah, they got palms out there, which is awesome. The hottest temperature of the year, usually around 95. Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. That's hot. That's hotter than I would expect. I feel like the average hot as it gets here is like 98 or something, 99. It's crazy. I guess London gets a lot more heat than the coastal areas. Yeah. What zone are you in? Yeah. Well, these are pretty suited here, but 6A or 6B. Oh, then yeah, Christopher, you're gonna need to protect the Trachycarpus. They are unfortunately not zone 6 palms, at least in a wet climate. But yeah, saw some native prickly pear in Cape May. Yes, yes, I saw some in Sandy Hook up by New York in northern New Jersey. Lots of prickly pear there, growing all over the beaches and everything. Really, really cool. Yeah, it's so cool to see it there. I was so confused when I first saw it because I didn't know they were native there. Eastern Long Island is much colder than near Manhattan. There was a clear difference. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, oh, there's definitely a difference, yeah. How far the trees were from Eastern Long Island. Yeah. Yeah, no. I bet you Manhattan's at least a 7A, if not 7B. And yeah, parts of Long Island I think are a zone 6B maybe, but most of it's zone 7. Hey, palmy weather, great to see you on here. Great to have you in the live stream. How's it going? How's the weather where you are, by the way? Hopefully it's palmy. End of this week, beginning of next, we're supposed to be in the, wow, high 80s and 90s. That's awesome. That's awesome. You guys get a lot of heat, I know. In summer, it gets really hot in Boise because you guys are nice in a nice inland location. And also, by the way, Gem State Tropics, I was reading through the thread about they were discussing palms in Idaho on Palm Talk. If you search it up, you'll be able to find it on Palm Talk. And someone mentioned, so you know the Boise area, most of it I think is like zone 7A. There's some 7B areas, but someone posted a video, or sorry, someone posted a link to this town, small town in Idaho, and I think it's the only place in the state that's actually a zone 8A. Believe it or not, it's actually a zone 8A. You could probably grow maybe even washies there. And apparently the climate is actually listed as a humid subtropical climate in Idaho. I would not expect that, but apparently the climate's actually listed as a zone 8A, and I forget what it is, but if you look up the thread, you'll be able to find it. But crazy that there's actually a humid subtropical climate in Idaho. And maybe it's like people call DC humid subtropical climate. We're not actually a subtropical climate here. You know, subtropics actually start in like Virginia, around Virginia Beach or Williamsburg, Virginia. But the eastern shore of Maryland, that is subtropical, but we are not subtropical. But yeah, pretty cool, pretty cool. There is actually zone 8 place there. Cloudy, a little humid and rainy here in Alexandria. Got it. Yeah. I was emailing with you, right? Palmy weather. I'm now getting different people mixed up, but you're the one who I was emailing about. You grow like pindos and trackies and stuff out in Alexandria. Yeah, that's exactly how it is here. Humid and rainy, same thing here. But I'm under this nice holly tree. No rain. I'm not getting rain on at all actually right now, which is really nice. But it is raining out a little bit. You can see. Yeah, it's like 70 degrees out right now, maybe high 60s. I just saw that post. Would be super cool to try washes there. Yes. Awesome, Gem State Tropics. I'm glad you found it. And definitely. The problem, though, it's kind of like Utah. Like Utah, so much of Utah has potential for palms. Like St. George, there are palms everywhere. But if you go out, to like Kanab or some of those towns in like central Utah, there's a lot of potential to grow palms there, but kind of like a lot of the western U.S., it's just so sparsely populated that people don't know that they can grow palms, and there's not enough in nurseries. Like there's so few nurseries that they don't carry them like a big city does. So that's the biggest problem. But definitely would be awesome to try palms there, and there may be some if it is zone 8A. So you never know. That's awesome. Yeah, definitely would be awesome to try washies there, and I think, yeah, I would imagine some parts of the Boise area would be suitable for washies. I mean, it's really not that high elevation. Like Salt Lake City, I think is like 4,000 or 5,000 feet, and Boise is only like 3,000 feet. So it's lower elevation, and yeah, I mean, obviously it's not crazy mild, but it's still, I would think, maybe doable for trackies at least, if not some Washingtonia. I mean, Washingtonia are almost as hardy as trackies in a dry climate. They're close at least. Like Albuquerque, it's crazy that you got huge washies there. Boise is about 2,300. Oh, wow. That's lower than I expected. That's really not that high elevation. That's awesome. Okay, then yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, obviously it's further north than a lot of places. Boise's interesting because it's a pretty high latitude. and inland also. So you wouldn't expect lots of people to grow there compared to like coastal areas of the Pacific Northwest. But pretty crazy. And by the way, Gem State Tropics, I have an important question for you. Is Idaho part of the Pacific Northwest? Because I've heard a lot of people, most people say it's just the coastal areas, but I've seen some maps that include Idaho in the Pacific Northwest. And then some link it in with sort of the Montana, Wyoming, whatever region that is, like the northern Rocky Mountain region. But I have seen other maps that include it as part of the Pacific Northwest. So I'm curious, as an Idahoan or whatever the term is for someone from Idaho, as someone from there, what your what do you guys consider yourself? Is part of the Pacific Northwest? Interesting. Gosh, it's so funny. I never would have imagined that, because Pacific Northwest means different things to different people. Like there's the Cascadia area. Cascadia is like a bioregion. So Cascadia goes all the way from southern Alaska to northern actually central California. And Cascadia is basically the area of like temperate rainforests along the coast. And some people take that to mean the Pacific Northwest. So in a broader sense, Pacific Northwest could include northern California and southern Alaska. But I think it's more used to determine different, it's mostly used by states and provinces. So they include British Columbia, Washington, and Oregon. But I'm surprised to hear that Idaho is part of that. But that is awesome. Yeah, and obviously a lot of the states are like Oregon and Washington. Most of the states actually like a desert or semi-arid climate, which people think is all rainforest, but it's really not. It's just the coastal areas. That's awesome. Chinese Palm Nation, welcome to the stream. I do not know what you just said, but I appreciate you joining in. And yeah, exactly. It's good to have you on here, Palm Nation. How are things, by the way? I've seen some of your posts on Facebook on some of the palm groups, which is awesome. And looks like your palms are doing well. Is your washi still alive, by the way? I don't know what I said either. You just copy pasted random words in there. I appreciate you joining in, Palm Nation. It's great to have you on here. It's been a while. And yeah, is your washi still alive, by the way? It is still alive. Wow. That is crazy. So how cold did it get, by the way, where you are, Palm Nation? Because I know you're not far from Memphis in southwestern Tennessee, sort of near the Mississippi border. And you've got trackies, stables, and everything. My washi made, that's crazy. Completely unprotected. See, there's some people like in your area who are just able to somehow defy the logics of, I don't know, to defy the zones. That's why really when people say palms don't know zones, it's really true. Because I based on what people say, like about Memphis and that sort of whole upper South area, you'd think you would never be able to grow, even like palmetto, much less something like a Washingtonia. But you are proving them wrong, and yeah, that's awesome. That is really, really awesome. And I know there's a big palmetto near you as well that you've shown me pictures of. Several big palmettos. Some salt palmetto, I think. Needles and obviously all that stuff. So really, Tennessee's got a lot of palm potential. I know there's a big palmetto in Memphis. Some trackies. By the way, I remember you were saying that that Nashville is quite cold. And I know Nashville can get really cold, but the guy in Nashville, I know it got to like almost 0 degrees there. But apparently the trackies did survive. A lot of them did, at least. His trackies, completely unprotected, as well as the sable palmetto, survived. And he's north of Nashville, too. I think he's like Hendersonville or something. But his trackies survived that freeze, as well as the sable palmetto. Crazy. That's like northern, up near Kentucky, northern Tennessee. But you're much milder, in a much milder area. We have a desert climate, but we also have the same forest climate as Washington. Yeah, I know there actually are, because obviously there's the coastal temperate rainforests along the Pacific coast, but I know there actually is rainforest in Idaho. I looked it up once. There's a rainforest it's part of it's in Idaho, part of it's in British Columbia or Alberta or whatever province is north of there. And part of it's in Montana, I think, too. But there's actually an inland rainforest, too. It's really weird because when you look at a map of the rainforests of the world, they always show the one in the Pacific Northwest, and they show the one in the Southeast. Believe it or not, speaking of Tennessee, the Appalachian temperate rainforest, there actually is a rainforest in Tennessee. I have videos of it, and it's amazing. It really does feel like a rainforest. You can actually sense just how different it is. Going from northern Georgia all the way up to Virginia and through the Smoky Mountains, there's a rainforest. They never show the rainforest in Idaho, but there are rainforests up in the Rocky Mountains at high elevations. But obviously you see a lot of it's desert as well. That's really cool. Idaho has such cool diversity of climates. Really, really cool. I don't know what I said either. My washi made completely protected. It's overall about, yeah, exactly, Palm Nation, yeah. Like your area definitely seems to be subtropical, especially if your washi made it. And also, I mean, you guys get crazy heat. And you guys, like we get heat spells in winter, but you guys get even more. It's like there's advantages and disadvantages. Like a place like Arkansas, for example, or Tennessee, or a lot of these sort of inland southern states, they can get really badly hammered, and or Texas for that matter, they get really badly hammered in those bad freezes. But especially in between the freezes, like, and even just the average winters there, they get a lot of heat, which really does help palms out. And after the bad freezes, the fact that it usually warms up so quickly, that also helps a lot with palm recovery. So that's a huge advantage that you guys have. Even up to the Midwest, they can get a lot of heat in winter. Like in Iowa, I remember even like in the middle of winter, it got to like the 50s, but then it also drops down to like negative 30 or whatever right after that. So you guys thankfully have it a lot milder. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear your palms doing well, Palm Nation, and yeah, that's awesome. That freeze cost my company $50K in damage. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. Wait, what does your company do again? I forgot. Gosh, what was it? Were you guys like removing? Are you guys work with plants or like is it infrastructure damage? What are the damages? $50K. God, that's crazy. The freeze, thankfully for us, didn't cost anything. It cost me shoveling out my Trachycarpus Keel, but that's it. The rest of them, it's so weird that Keel held on the longest of these little trackies here. Keel didn't spear pull for a while, but really quickly the spear sort of turned, and I pulled it. I thought it would recover. The fronds were still pretty, the fronds were decently green a little bit. These two trackies were completely toast, and they spear pulled really easily, and yet look at this. Pushing out new growth here. This is a Fortunae right there, and a Wagnerianus there, so that just goes to show you, it's not always about appearances. Palms can spear pull randomly, and they can also take a long time to spear pull, but the flip side of that is they can also take a long time to recover, which can both be frustrating and also, rewarding once they eventually do recover. Because check this out, Palm Nation and all you guys in there. You see that? I'm gonna try to, without getting my finger, because it doesn't look very sharp, but there are those horribly brutal needles. You see where the tip of that leaf is pointing? That little nub right there. Try to show you right, the little nub right there sticking. Let me try to get a stick. I showed people this earlier, but the here. Try to see if I can see the green. So look right there. You see that green right there? You see that thing that is the spear right there. See the green a little bit. So that's the new spear on my needle palm right there. You see that? So this thing took forever. Fronds are completely green. For some reason, this thing didn't spear pull at all, but the needle palm decided to, for whatever reason. And yeah, thankfully it is recovering. So that's the good news here. And the fronds look completely flawless. So needle palm is on its road to recovery, which is awesome. Sable Atonia, by the way, Palm Nation, I know a guy in Tennessee, I think in a colder place than you, who is growing, he has like a trunking one of these, unprotected. So you definitely should look into one of these. Great palm for your location. Sable Atonia, great species for the upper south. And for DC too. This thing was barely protected. I mean, I wouldn't even say it was protected. It had a ring of burlap around it and some leaves over it. That's it. No spear pull. The spear is starting to open right now. Really awesome. This thing is a great species. Sable Atonia. And we're zone 7 climate. This thing did great here. You're like zone 8 Palm Nation. So should definitely be fully hardy where you are. Fortuna is looking good. This frond looks a little stunted. This thing should be opening by now, but it's not. We may have a stunted frond here, but the rest of it looks good. So that's the good news. This thing's opening, which is awesome. So Palm Nation, sorry, let me get to your comments. And also another great one that I've seen people growing in Tennessee is, native, not far from Tennessee, the Spanish moss, which is awesome. Tennessee's awesome. They got a lot of cool areas there. And I know some people growing palms, even up at the high elevations in the Smoky Mountains. So, it's a lot milder than people think. Fire sprinkler line broke. Oh God, flooded the Oh, that's awful. Work for AutoZone. Oh, got it. Not the store with the distribution center, so I make bank. That's awesome. But that really sucks about the damage. I'm sorry to hear about that, Palm Nation. Yeah, those freezes can really suck. Gosh, that's horrible. Yeah. Now I know several people who had like burst pipes and stuff from the freeze, which that's the most miserable thing. It being freezing out and having to deal with a burst pipe. That is just awful. Also, hey Cal, also last July before the temp. Wow. Just leading up to the freeze. God, that seems like DC summer weather. Besides the 80s, the 90s, that seems like DC. Wow. Also the nights were... Gosh, seems like an oven. 105 degrees, and then all those horrible, miserable nights. Gosh. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, if you're telling me 60s and 70s is warm for London at night, then I'm kind of jealous because our summer nights are. Well, that's actually one of the things I do enjoy. I enjoy our summer nights because 80 for us for a summer night is not unusual at all. That's basically like a normal summer night. And I do kind of like the warm summer nights, but you know, you do kind of get sweaty if you're walking around, even like in the dead of night. And here in summer, that's how hot it is and humid, mostly humid. But yeah, that's kind of crazy. I mean, I'm still just. I mean, it's hard to fathom that it got to 105 degrees, especially because you guys are on an island. I mean, I would think it would just be even in a heat wave. I would think like Paris or something will get hit a lot harder than London in a heat wave. But the fact that you guys got hit so hard, you know, with that crazy heat is just nuts. It's crazy. Again, that's hotter than it's been here. I think my entire life. I don't think it's ever been 105 degrees here in DC for the entire time I've lived here, for my whole life. I saw the palms in Nampa. Oh, oh God. Oh, two were dead. You sure they don't have a chance of recovery? Because I know they can take a while to recover. Some camera ops. Really? Were the camera ops protected? Gem State Tropics? That's one that I'm very curious to know as well, because I would think camera ops, my first instinct would say that camera ops, you know, wouldn't have a shot there just because it doesn't do well here in Zone 7. But I would think camera ops might even be growable with minor to no protection where you are, just because it's a dry climate. So that's really cool. Do you know if the camera ops are protected? That sucks that the trackies got fried, though. I didn't get a video yet, but I will very soon. Awesome. I'm excited to see that, Gem State Tropics, and that really sucks about the damage. Again, I would think that they could grow them unprotected there, because Nampa is mild, but what do I know? I don't know. I've not seen the climate data, so I can't actually confirm that, but yeah. Didn't get a video, but I will. I look forward to that, but Gem State Tropics. I saw your recent vid. I'm glad you got to... Yeah. Palmy Weather, were you the one who mentioned Ed's Plant World? Because if you were, thank you so much, because I really appreciate that. And speaking of which, these are the 3 palms that I got from there. My 3 beautiful trackies. These things were $79 each. Now, $79 for a trackie of this size in a place where trackies are so hard to come by, that is like extremely cheap. You know, a trackie of this size, again, I would expect it would be at least $200 at most stores around here, you know, if they actually carried them. But this is amazing. 3 trackies I got, $79 each. And I will be planning this around there. You were the ones. Thank you so much, Palmy Weather. I really, really appreciate that. And I got to tell you, I made a video on it. Got a good amount of views, and so many people were raving about that place and saying that were very excited to learn about it and would be going there soon. Like I know several people were actually coming down from up north. They were doing like a road trip through DC and they're stopping there. So really, really awesome, and I really appreciate that. You know, again, the place I got this is Null's Produce in Alexandria, actually near you. And by the way, have you been to Null's Produce recently or at all? Because I heard they were getting some trackies in soon, so I'm curious to know what their prices are. But they have good prices. Again, this one was $300 for me, which is expensive, very expensive. But you know, it is a good sized palm. It was smaller when I got it. It was probably like up to here. But you know, not too bad, and it's obviously grown a lot in size. Should really get big this year. And yeah, really, you know, there's a few nurseries that carry them. Again, the one nursery in Alexandria, which is called Hollywoods and Vines, used to carry Big Needles and Sable Minor. And of course, I was so stupid to think, of course, the nursery is always going to be there. So I'll just wait until, you know, one day I actually need a Big Needle palm. And of course, the nursery closed last year. And by the time I actually got there, it was completely closed. New branding, new name, new nursery, and no palms at all, which really sucks. So yeah, learn your lesson, I guess. Go when it's there. Oh, look, a little spider web here between my, hard to see, but between these fronds and this Sable Minor. Sorry. Here we go. I know I came into the live stream late, but did you? Palmy Weather, I've not had the chance to plant them locally yet, but I will be doing that. At least one of them I'm gonna be planting here at my home. But 2 of them at least I'm gonna try to plant at either the fire station or the library. I still need to speak to the people there and get approval, so it's not gonna be, I still need to do that, but I will be trying to plant them locally as well as some of the other potted palms I have here. So stay tuned for that. Really, really appreciate that. You letting me know about that place. So it basically destroyed rear radiators, rotors. God, that really sucks. That's horrible, Palmination. I'm sorry to hear that. And yeah, I mean, I guess that's just another reason to hate those bad freezes. But gosh, so sorry to hear that. That really sucks. Our average summer nights, low 60s. That's not too cool. I mean, like I know San Francisco probably in summer averages like lows in the 50s. San Francisco is such a crazy cool climate, like cool temperature wise. So yeah, that's not too cool. I feel like even Southern California gets pretty cool at night, in during the night in summer. Obviously, last year was much higher. Yeah, exactly. Our winter was with the averages must have been so much milder, even though we got that really bad freeze. January and February were mostly in the 50s and 60s, if you can believe that. Crazy mild, crazy warm. I also forgot everything in the first floor of aerosol. Oh God, that's awful. The sprinkler system broke, and then like, did it flood the area? That's horrible. Gosh, that's awful. Must have been really cold in the building. That's crazy. Everything there was protected. Personally, I think the protection was left on way too long. Yeah, that's a problem I've noticed. People do that. They leave the protection on until like April or something, which is never smart to do. I'd say most palms here. I mean, if you ever, you shouldn't protect a palm here. At least if it's say a minor needle palm. Trackies maybe. No one really protects them here, and you sort of just place your bets. And most people are successful with them. Sometimes long term, but if you were to protect a trachea here, basically by February you can take the protection off because it's just those bad nights in January sometimes that can kill them during a really bad freeze. But again, this winter was not one of those winters. Again, my young trachees got pretty fried, but big ones took the freeze just fine. Everything was protected personally. Wow. Yeah, that's a real problem, especially for people who use plastic protection, which is never a smart thing generally. But if you leave that plastic sitting there and it warms up, that creates a greenhouse effect and traps moisture in there. Huge problem. Just sort of, rots it. Last week we were sitting in the 80s and 90s. That's really a terrible idea. Yeah, exactly. Gem State Tropics, yeah, they definitely should have removed it probably like a month ago at least. And then 2 weeks ago, idiot. Oh, God. Broke a sprinkler main flooded. Oh, no. Oh, my gosh. That's awful. Literal. Oh my God. God, that's horrible. How does someone break that? That's horrible. Palm Nation, I'm so sorry. And hopefully it's all repaired by now, but that's awful. Gosh. I've heard of trachees treating without protection or at least with minimal protection. Yeah, Gem State Tropics, I would think trachees would be probably similar in hardiness to here. I would think they'd be, mostly hardy where you are. Yes, I've been by there, but haven't seen any just yet. Got it. I called them like a month ago or something, and they said that like in a couple weeks they'd be getting the trachees. So I don't think I'm going to be buying any from there anytime soon because I have, all the trachees I need for now. Plus, it seems like the Ed's Plant World is cheaper, but Null's Produce is a great place. And again, I wonder, like, they had smaller trachees that I didn't buy, so maybe they are cheaper, but, $300 for a trachee. It's a good price. I'm not gonna call that cheap, because obviously that'd be insane. But it still was a good sized trachea. Like a trachea of this size, usually, especially with the size it is now, would cost, probably like $400 or $500 in most places, which is insane. But I mean, you got to imagine, think about how long this thing's been alive for. It's been growing a while, so there's investment into that. People have been watering it for years, so I sort of get it, but I think that's still way too expensive for a palm. I was consider myself kind of lucky to have gotten a deal like that. And I think I got it at just the right size, sort of while it was still small enough that it wasn't crazy expensive, but I could get it in the ground, and it sort of took off last summer, and then this summer should grow a ton. So I expect all those damaged fronds that I cut off to grow back, should really fill in the crown. And I'm going to start letting it skirt at some point. So that's awesome. The record high of Paris is 108.7. That's crazy. Okay, so and it did actually get hotter than London, because that's what I would expect. The highest we got, 101. That is miserable. That's miserable. And I was in Paris in July, the middle of summer. I think it was end of July, and I got there at 6 a.m. or something, and it was cold out. Because it was probably like a pretty normal morning, but I'm used to by morning here it's already like 85 degrees. In DC in summer, and I got there, it was cold. We were also in the middle of a heat wave in DC where it got to almost, if not 100. It was like several days of like 98, 99. and humid, of course. And I was cold in Paris. It was awesome. The high was like in the 70s. It was just perfect weather. Perfect weather. You know, sort of like a Mediterranean climate, but I don't think Paris actually is Mediterranean. I think it's more of a temperate climate. Sorry, let me. Gosh, sorry. God, my phone again is. I hope if anyone gets blocked, just know that I am not doing this intentionally. My phone is sorry with malfunctioning for a second, but here we go. There we go. I've heard of trackies. The companies I work for planter two of them. Wow. Really? Wait. Palmy Weather, your company planted palms to at a client's house around her pool and are made it through. Wow. That must mean they're good. They're good trackies because trackies can vary in hardiness, and yeah, that must mean they're good stock, good seeds. So I will be planting mine, and that's the biggest problem for me. Which you know, I'm grateful that we can grow trackies at all, but the fact that they're kind of marginal here does make it a little unfortunate when I'm trying to plant them publicly. Like, do I sort of market the palm as something that might need to be protected? Because I think it's way too complicated to be protecting a palm in a public spot. Like, because I eventually I'm not going to be around to do that. You know, when I move away, and I don't know. I think I'll probably just leave it unprotected and see what happens. Probably try to get it in a good microclimate, south-facing wall, all the good stuff. Again, the fact that my trackie made it through this winter, no spear pole, none of that, and the fact that these trackies are already a good size does give me hope that they may be more long-term here. This one definitely. That's awesome. That's really good to hear. Palmy Weather. And yeah, as I mentioned, I was actually down in Alexandria the other day, and I only got a video of that Sable Minor, but I got to get back down there because there's lots of trackies down there. There's some other palms I know about that I made videos on, so I got to get back down there and do some updates. I was in Arlington yesterday, and I went by that huge trackie, but the woman who was out front watering her lawn, and I was kind of in a rush, and very, very nice. I mentioned that I was an admirer for palm. I told her I have a palm YouTube channel. Very nice. She said her husband planted the palm. And that's a palm that's been there for a while, unprotected in 2014, I believe, and survived. There's another trackie next to it that died in that bad freeze. But you know that big palm in Arlington I have videos of. And I didn't want to sort of ask. I thought it would be a little inappropriate if I asked her to film the palm right in front of her. So, I mean, you know, I usually, you know, if there's no one there, get a video of the palm. But I didn't end up making a video of it, but I did see it yesterday. It did actually have quite a little bit of damage on the fronds. They had the weirdest protection setup that I've ever seen. They had like a loose hanging plastic bag over the trunk. No protection on the fronds, just a loose. I have a video of it over winter if you guys want to see it. Really, really weird and completely pointless. Just leave it unprotected if you're going to do that. And I mean, at this point, it's you know, pretty much a long-term palm here, but it's doing well is the good news, and I'm going to try to get an update of it soon. But I did get an update of a trackie I have not made a video on in an incredibly long time in DC today. So if all you guys, you know, soon after I finish this live stream, I will be uploading a video of that trackie. So stay tuned for that. And I'm really excited about that one because it is a really nice palm in this like crazy, interesting, like housing complex. I don't even know how to explain it, but you guys will see the video. It's a palm I made a video of once before, like a year or two ago. So yeah, excited for that. And then I also got like a really quick video. I don't even know if like it came out clear, but as I was driving by, we drove by one of the needle palms. See, that's the thing about DC is that, you know, palms aren't crazy common here, but we were driving home from when I was filming that one palm, and we went right by another palm, two other palms actually. So if you know where the palms are, again, there are quite a number of them around. We're like right on the edge of them being common. And honestly, the more I find out about, the more sort of semi-common I consider them here. When I first started my channel, I would never consider palms anything at all close to common here. But now, I mean, they're around. I'd say the average neighborhood in the city has got at least one palm. You know, neighborhood being a more you know, broad sense, I guess, a sort of general region of the city. But one neighborhood down sort of north of downtown has like 8 palms in it, I think. So and that's within like a probably 1 square mile area. So that's pretty cool. Some big trackies too. Anyways, sorry, I don't mean to distract from your guys' comments. Let me get to this. That's awesome that the palms made it palmy weather. That's awesome. Trackies here really only need protection 1 or 2 days. Yeah, same with here. And again, those 1 or 2 days will only come like every 10 years. But it's enough to kill them. It does suck. It's kind of like the whole eastern U.S. When you don't have mountains north of us and when you're in a humid climate like this, the freezes are worse. But of course, you know, it's true out west too. You guys get bad freezes, I know, as well. But It does suck, but it's also kind of, there's something cool about having palms being marginal here. The fact that it makes it more rewarding when you see a big trackie. Like, I don't know, if I was in Seattle, obviously I'd still love trackies to death, and I still love them no matter what. But I feel like there's something a little bit more rewarding about having them being more rare, and the fact that we do have like one or two 30-foot trackies in the DC area, and probably like 5 or 10 20-footers around that I have videos of. That makes it more rewarding, knowing that there are some that survive those bad freezes and that make it long term. So there is something nice about having that. And again, it's all about microclimate. It's all about planting location. So yeah. Anyways, they were digging a trench outside the building to upgrade a bathroom, and they basically hit the pipe. God, 12-inch diameter high pressure line. God, that does not sound good. Palm Nation, that's horrible. Yeah, no, I've heard a lot of stories like that. That's really sucks. God. All the dirt from the trench. Oh, no. Oh, that's awful. Oh, God, that's horrible. That's horrible, Palm Nation. That must have taken forever to clean up. Having mud all over the ground, that's awful. I'm so sorry to hear that. Last summer, we also had 4 days in a row of 95. And that's humid, right? So, Cal, is London humid in summer? Because it's so dry that I would think it would actually be not that humid. But when it gets to 105 degrees, is it humid or is it dry? Because when it's 105 degrees in Phoenix, it feels like 99 or 100, which is still miserable. It's still really hot, but it's dry, like it's bone dry. But when it's 105 degrees in London, I'm curious, is it really humid? No, it's not humid. Okay, that's good. That's good. Because whenever, if it ever gets to 105 degrees here, it'll be like, 80% humidity and miserable. Because our summers are just crazy humid. And I know Palm Nation can relate. And Palm Nation, I think, enjoys the humidity more than I do. Although I enjoy it. I do enjoy it a lot. But after a whole summer of it, it does get quite to be a lot. And I know Tennessee has no shortage of humidity for a large portion of the year, including in winter. And they can get quite a bit of heat in winter. So, yeah. 4 days in a row of 95 plus. God, that's miserable. Very dry like Phoenix. 8%. Okay, that's insanely dry. That is like Phoenix. That, I guess, is nice, but I bet it's still miserable. Especially for people from London, that must be horrible. I mean, considering how, pleasant the climate is usually in summer. Even in NJ, it is extremely humid. Yeah, New Jersey's really humid. And the nice thing is that where I go in New Jersey, out by the coast, it's like 10 degrees cooler than inland because it's breezy. In the middle of summer, it's like in the low 80s, which for us feels really, really cool and beautiful. So that is the nice thing, is that by the coast, it is always cooler, and it's also always milder. Like when it snows in winter, it usually rains by the coast. So that's the nice thing. And it's like Maryland. Although once you get south enough, it really is still pretty miserable by the coast. Like, although I went to Virginia Beach in summer, it wasn't too bad. But I think when you go to like Georgia and Florida, even if you're, right on the water and it's breezy, it's still, miserably, oppressively humid in summer or even in spring and fall. And winter sometimes. It can get really humid in winter as well. 8% humidity is extremely low. That is like exactly like basically what Phoenix is. London is the least humid place in the UK. That's crazy. I would think it would be like Cornwall, because I've seen pictures of it and it looks like somewhere in California, like scrubland, really dry. But that's crazy. London is the least humid place. I guess that makes sense, because I guess the coastal area is like, it's kind of like Mexico. Like where I went in Mexico and in Baja California, it's a desert. It's a tropical desert. But even in the coastal areas, even regardless of how little rain they get, it's still pretty humid. And like the Canary Islands too, I know get a decent amount of humidity, because they're obviously coastal. Most of the areas by the coast still have a lot of humidity. So I guess that makes sense. I definitely plan on going to Gary's nursery by the end of this month. Gary's nursery. What is? Oh, Gary's nursery. Of course. I've been wanting to go there forever. I've never ever been there, but I really want to. And I know they have good prices and great selection. Yeah. Back here. All right. Sorry, guys. 1 second. I definitely plan on going into Gary's nursery by the end of the month. Plan on getting a few stables. Stable fat. Oh, I know that. Yes. Gary actually posts pictures on Facebook of his palms. He's got some great palms there. And he's actually in a cold pocket, I know. He's got a really, what I would think would be a good location, but he's actually in a cold pocket, and he gets, even his palmettos die sometimes in those bad freezes, but he's got some great selection. Yeah, I want to get some Birmingham. I really have to go down there. I really, really need to go down there. That is just something that's like a palm pilgrimage spot, because I always go to Pungo Palms, which I love, but I got to get down to Gary's. Probably not as humid as DC. Yeah, no. Wait, which is not. Oh yeah, no, New Jersey. I would think most of New Jersey, maybe the Pinelands are as humid as DC, but DC is just at this perfect spot for humidity. Perfect, perhaps not in the best of ways, but we're just inland enough that I don't know. The humidity is like, we're just away from the Chesapeake Bay enough that it really is pretty humid. Like compared to Annapolis, our capital, it's right on the water, so it's like always at least 5 degrees cooler than here in summer. So we are pretty humid in summer and a bit colder in winter, but we're still moderated pretty nicely. We got rivers and we got the bay nearby, so that is a good thing. That's awesome. I need to get down to Gary's nursery, and I'm going to definitely be getting some Birmingham Brazoria and probably Minor too if I go down there. Probably not as humid. Yeah, a lot of people forget that south of London is the Mediterranean, and south of that is the Sahara Desert. Exactly. There's a lot of dry places south of there. Yeah, it's a good point. Cornwall is very humid. Really, Cornwall? I would not have thought that because I know they don't get very much rain, but I guess it's just really, yeah, very humid. It's kind of like Hawaii. There's a true desert in Hawaii, but it's still pretty humid because it's right by the water, which I guess kind of limits the palms you can grow a little bit. Like if you try to grow like a really really dry climate species in the Hawaiian desert, I bet some of them might suffer from the humidity a bit. But yeah. Here in the summer, once you hit 100 Fahrenheit, the highs stay like that for the months, usually like June, July. That is insane. Massive broiler, yeah, that is miserable. But hey, I mean, it has its advantages for the palms. And last summer, every day was, oh my God, heat index, but one of the humidity was ridiculous. I think, yeah, that's the thing is a lot of days here feel like 100 because of the humidity. So that's a good point. Humidity was ridiculous. I think one day, so stupid humidity. Oh my God, what? I've never heard of that. A heat index of 147. That seems extremely dangerous, but that is crazy. Yeah, Palm Nation, that's nuts. That is nuts. Cornwall is the west, surrounded by the sea on both sides. Yeah, exactly. It's a peninsula. West London is even closer to continental Europe and inland. In London, when we get heat waves. Huh. Interesting. That is fascinating, Cal. I appreciate you explaining that, and I had no idea. It's interesting because I would have thought London is sort of like a Seattle climate, because I know Seattle is pretty dry in summer too, but I bet you Seattle's still decently humid, and I bet you London is drier because they don't get obviously the Sahara heat waves like that, so low humidity. Although the thing about Seattle is that everywhere inland from Seattle is dry. Like there's desert in Washington State, so maybe they do get the heat waves from the desert. I don't know. I'm curious. So low humidity. Well, that's really that's fascinating, and obviously as I said many times, London. If I go to the UK, I definitely. That's just a dream of mine is to get back there, do some palm videos, and go to all the sites. Go to the Ventnor, go to Cornwall, go to the Scilly Isles. I don't know if that'll ever happen, but hopefully at some point. Palm Planet, you should try to get Canary Island Day Palm or Palmetto, but protect them. I would love to. The problem with Canary Island Day Palm is that even at a small size, I would say almost especially at a small size, it is such a wide palm. When people say palms don't provide shade, I always point to the Canary Island Day Palm. That's what Southern California says. They say they need palms that provide shade. They need plants that provide shade because of how hot it is in summer. Now, there's two reasons why that's wrong. First of all, by the beach in Southern California, it's like in the 70s in summer. It's really pleasant. It's like London. But the other thing is Canary Island Day Palms do provide a lot of shade, especially when they're young. So I think it's easier to get a washi and protected than a Canary Island Day Palm because they're just so wide. Like the fronds on that, I either have to like butcher all the fronds or just do some massive protection. So I don't know. I'm not huge into protecting palms, but if I was, I would if I were to try one, I would get a washi probably. Palmetto I would love to have, and as I've shown you guys right here, these are stable palmetto. So they actually have not had any protection. These survived our freeze with no protection. These are seedlings here. So stable palmetto seedlings here, grown from seed from Virginia Beach, no protection, and they survived our winter. So you can see that, and they're a little bit of green on there, and they're growing back nicely. So they've already put out probably, I don't know, a half inches worth of growth, which for stable palmetto at this size is not too bad. So on its way, stable minor is opening up a tiny little new frond here. And yeah, awesome. Do you have palmettos? That's awesome. Yeah, exactly. I do have palmettos. Should try to get. I went for a jog that day. Oh my God, Palm Nation. Geez, that's afternoon. I had to turn back. I felt like I was about to die. Yeah, seriously, that's how I feel some days in DC. I get lightheaded, especially when I'm doing gardening. Even if I hydrate like crazy, I drink a ton of water. As soon as I stand up after gardening, I feel lightheaded. in summer when it's like 95 degrees out. It's just so humid. Jedi went in the house and looked at my sensor. Gosh, yeah, that's insane. 147. That's miserable. That's crazy. That's crazy. But again, the palms like it. The palms like it. They'll grow. Trackies might not like that at all, but sables and stuff, they love that. Yeah, I have palmettos. Exactly. Yeah, London is humid. Is humid on cool days. So we'll see how those palmettos do. I've had them for like 2 years now from seed, and they are so slow growing. But I'm obviously gonna keep them there. And yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe they have a chance if they're growing from seed. And again, I know a guy who's growing big ones out by the beach in Maryland, on the Chesapeake Bay, which is still in the DC area. And he's got big ones. They've been there for 3 years unprotected, and no problem. So yeah, they have a chance here. London is humid on cool days. Yeah, that's just like here. Right this time of year, it's humid when it's cool, and it's not humid when it's warm. But that's about to change. In the summer, 80. That's really nice. Really nice and pleasant. Oh, you do have palmettos. Yeah. That's really nice. Nice to see they're doing well. Yeah, I know they're doing well, and they're recovering nicely. The palmettos, obviously they got pretty fried. I thought they were toast, but all through the winter they kept some green, and they're all recovering. So that's a good sign. It's a good sign. Again, the Virginia Beach seed does make a difference. It's hardy seed. Today, for example, 74 Fahrenheit. That's perfect. That is perfect. That's like a Southern California day. Southern California has decent humidity by the water, especially because it's so cool out. It is sort of, more humid the cooler it gets, but that's perfect. 74 and I mean, that is just perfect weather. That's like how it's been the last couple weeks. That's about to change soon, unfortunately, although, I can't complain. I always think when it's like 60 degrees out, it just feels perfect. But then once it gets to like 80, I also think that feels perfect. There is something nice about having that humidity here in summer. It really does feel great. Going to the pool and stuff. Yeah, that's the thing about Southern California. When I went in the water in summer there, and it felt kind of chilly, because it's like in the 70s. But here, you go to the beach, and it feels very welcoming. Palm Nation, what state? Palm Nation is in Tennessee. Palm Nation is in Tennessee, right near the Mississippi border. And yeah, nice, mild subtropical climate. Cornwall is typically 60 to 80% humidity. Wow, that's surprising. That's like here. That's not that different from here. What's funny is the actual air temp was, wow. Oh my God, 110. Wow, I've never seen it even. I think maybe once it got to 102 here, but never ever 110. But it wasn't humid when it went over. That's insane. That's good it wasn't humid, but that's still miserable. That's crazy. Christopher Glod. I definitely try palmettos. Yeah, exactly. Canary Island day palm has no chance here. You need a lot of protection for that here. The northernmost place you'll see them on the East Coast is Cape Hatteras, and you'll only see them there because it stretches way out into the ocean, so it's got a great microclimate. But you got to go basically to like South Carolina basically to see long-term ones south of there. So no chance here. There's one I have a video of in Virginia Beach. It looked pretty toast after this winter, but we'll see how it does. So there are some there, but they're very marginal. But it doesn't get as hot there when you drive from London to Cornwall in the summer. Yeah, that's so nice. It's cool in Cornwall in summer, which I love. I went to the area of France along the coast. It was really cool in summer. Probably decent humidity, but it was really cool, which is really nice. Today was 90 degrees. Wow, 90. It was 78 here as our high. 90% humidity. Oh my gosh, it just felt miserable. That is miserable. That air makes you feel like you should take a shower. Seriously, that's how it feels in summer here. Jazan, Saudi Arabia. I've heard of that. Feels like a summer. Makes Florida feel somewhat cool. Yeah, Cal. I've heard of that place. And it's also even though it's dry, I think it's pretty humid, right? That's miserable. That's heat index, right? 136. That's miserable. If it was humid when it went to the 110s, it would be Saudi Arabia level heat indexes. Yeah, that's miserable. 136. That is horrible. No, I as much as I would love to grow palms, I would never live in a place like that. Just because of just the miserable humidity. Like Death Valley, great place for growing palms, but that heat, no thank you. No, I'd rather be by the coast. That's crazy. All right, guys. Well, I think it's about dinner time for me, so I got to head in. But I appreciate all you guys joining in here. My videos, fortunately, I have to put in my bank information. I have not been able to monetize. They were monetized previously, but these ones, latest ones, I have... the monetization has been cut off because I've not put in my bank information yet, so I got to do that. I'm I'm gonna get that done and respond to some comments, have dinner, and yeah, keep you guys posted. I got some videos. I'm gonna upload a video shortly, so stay tuned for that. Yeah, coastal France is more like Cornwall. Exactly, coastal France, where I was, very much like Cornwall. Canary Island, Day Palms, Washies, that kind of stuff. London is more similar to Paris. Exactly, exactly. There's a specific place in Saudi Arabia that had heat index. Yes, I've heard of that, Palm Nation. Yes, that is like you step outside for 5 minutes and you like pass out. I mean, that's miserable. That's miserable. Well, hopefully we don't get anything like that this summer. And 136 is actual, what? Oh my God. Actual air temperature. Oh my gosh, that is an oven. Gosh. Yeah, the whole country is like a desert, basically. I guess you have to go by the coast for it to be a bit cooler, but that's crazy. That's crazy. All right, guys. Appreciate you guys joining in. And yeah, I'll keep you guys posted on everything. But like and subscribe for more videos. Stay tuned and take care, folks. How tall does a tracking usually get every... They grow about a foot a year here, so about a foot of growth. Once they get to a good size, when they're smaller, they put out a lot less growth. But once they get to probably like this size, it'll start growing about a foot a year. So again, the one by the Smithsonian Castle, it's been there for 20-something years. It's about 20 feet tall, so about a foot a year. So yeah, you know, decent growth for a palm at this colder climate. Just on Saudi Arabia. Oh my gosh, 122 with 50% humidity. That is something I cannot handle. That's miserable. I'm gonna look at the weather there. I want to see what it's like now. That's crazy. Yeah, Connor's taken. I appreciate you joining in, and yeah, like, subscribe for more videos, folks. Stay tuned and take care. Thanks for joining in the live stream. Always appreciate you guys. Really fun. Mine's small right now in Montgomery County. You're in Montgomery County, right? I remember you commenting previously, I think. Yeah, so that's awesome. That's awesome. It should grow well for you, and you know, I know several others besides mine here in Montgomery County. So right here where I am, that's awesome. All right, take care, folks.